It's been quite a while since you've seen my face. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Savannah and this is Grits and Gratitude. It has been quite a while since I've made a new video, but I am back and we are going to jump right into a new recipe today. This is the first time I've ever shared this recipe in life ever, so I really hope you enjoy it. Today we're going to be making Carolina barbecue hash. So if you are not from South Carolina, I think they have it in North Carolina, maybe parts of Georgia, you might not know what barbecue hash is. Typically when you Google a hash recipe, you get a recipe of like potatoes, like fried with like bacon or sausage, sometimes some peppers, some onions, and this kind of hash is not that kind of hash. The best way I can explain it is it's like a spicy-ish pork stew. It takes me about 2 days to make this, and that is because I am a full-time worker, so is my husband, and it is something that has a really long cook time. Now, typically when you make a hash, you cook it in a big pot on the stove or even sometimes outside, and you cook it down for hours and hours, and I ain't got time for that. I have to separate that into 2 days. So I made it a little faster this time by using the Instant Pot for one of the steps, but if you don't have an Instant Pot, no worries. If you don't have a crock pot, no worries. You can make this over the stove and I'll explain how to do that. This is a recipe that I think everybody should try at least once. It's very popular here, but if you do decide to try this out, I promise you it is worth it. Basically every barbecue joint here in South Carolina is gonna have some form of hash on the menu. I figured that would be a good recipe to share with you guys. I learned how to make this a couple years ago because it's one of my favorite things. So if this recipe seems like something that you would like or that you would be interested in learning how to make, please give this video a thumbs up. That really helps out the channel and I would really appreciate it, and keep on watching.
Okay, so here is our pork. This is just some pork loins that I had in the freezer, and I just thawed them out and cooked them on high in the crock pot for 8 hours. I cooked them so long so they would be super tender and really just fall apart when you touch them. So to get this good and shredded up, I am going to use a hand mixer, and I am just going to, and this is what it looks like once I get it all shredded up. Now we're gonna eat some of this tonight with our dinner. We're gonna have pulled pork sandwiches, and then the rest of this is what I'm going to be using for our pork hash. So the next thing I did to get prepared for the hash was I cut up 2 pounds of yellow onion, and I cut up 1 pound of russet potatoes. I just peeled these and chopped them and put them in my Instant Pot. Now, if you do not have an Instant Pot, you can just boil these on the stove in some water or chicken broth until they literally fall apart. Usually, if I do it on the stove top, I will boil the potatoes and onions for about 2 hours. And I know that sounds crazy, but you literally want them to fall apart. While my potatoes and onions were cooking in the Instant Pot, I went ahead and measured out everything else for my hash. So I put 1.5 cups of cider vinegar, 1.5 cups of yellow mustard, 2 tablespoons of black pepper. You can do less if you don't like that much black pepper, and then 1 tablespoon of salt. I also added in 1/4 cup of hot sauce, or 4 tablespoons, and then I gave that a whisk and got that mixed together and incorporated, and then I added in that pork. If you were not going to cook this in the crock pot the next day, if you wanted to do it in one day, you would just add all of this to your pot with the potatoes and onions after they are fully cooked. Before you added this in, I would take a potato masher or an immersion blender and smash up those potatoes, and you would just add the pork and everything to the pot and simmer on low for at least 2 hours, stirring often, and then add you in a stick of margarine. Or you can melt it down and mix it in. But since I'm doing mine over 2 days and I'm gonna put it in the crock pot, I just took out the potatoes and onions and really smashed them up with my potato masher. And then I poured that mixture over top my pork mixture, gave it a good mix, and then this cooked on low the next day while I was at work for 8 hours in the crock pot. Now, technically at this step, you don't have to cook it the 8 hours, but I think with hash, it really helps to let those flavors marry together and simmer for a long time. So this is what it looks like before it's cooked. This was just right after I mixed everything together. Okay, so this is what it looks like after it has cooked on low in the crock pot for about 8 hours. Now, if you don't want to cook it in the crock pot, you can do this on the stove top. I just prefer to do it in the crock pot because we work 8-hour shifts and we're not home. So I put it in here, and then by the time I get home from work, it is done. Now, this doesn't look like anything special, but when I tell you this is like a South Carolina classic, every barbecue joint around here serves hash and rice. So if you've never tried good Carolina barbecue hash, I highly recommend. And we're just gonna serve this over some rice, and that's gonna be dinner for tonight.
All right, so that is how you make some barbecue hash. I really hope you enjoyed this video and that you'll give it a try. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to my channel. I would really love to have you here. And I am grateful for each and every one of you. I really appreciate you all for being here. As always, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.